Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name's Teresa and I'm the Carbootcrafter, and welcome to my Christmas in July project. So today it's these cute little notepads which I'm going to be gifting to people at Christmas, well, just before Christmas, to write their lists and things. So it's nice and flat, so it'll pop in a handbag, and all you do is slide the belly band off. You don't need the belly band. If you don't want to, don't need to. Just open it up, and inside you've got a notebook and you've got a little tuck spot somewhere to put your lists or your stamps or whatever you need, and then you can pop it back on. And because I've kept my belly bands nice and flat, it won't cause any problems in a handbag. I've also done this one, which is exactly the same, slightly narrower belly band, and inside you've got the tuck spot and the notepad again, but this one I've used without chipboard, but I'm going to show you the chipboard one today. If you want me to show you without the chipboard, then do let me know and I'll do a quick one just to show you. Okay, let's pop them to one side and bring in my notepad. So these are the pads that are in the pack, and I've measured them, and it's just shy of 3 inches across by I think it's about something like 8 1/8, which is a bit of an odd number, but 8 1/8 in length. So what I've done is I've cut myself some chipboard that measures 3 inches across and 8 1/2 in length, and I've done 2 of those, one for the front and one for the back. And then once I've done those, I've then got myself a piece of 12 by 12 paper, and I've cut it so that I have one piece which is, the first cut was made at 8 inches, so that's 8 inches across. Then I cut this down to 10 1/2 inches, so that's my belly band, and this is my cover. Then this 4-inch piece that was left over, I've cut myself a 4 by 8 1/2, and that will go on the inside. And then the little square that was left over is 3 1/2, and I've cut it down to 3 inches. So that's all the scrap I've got from making this project, and I'm sure I can find something to do with that if I need to. Right, so those are all the measurements. I'm going to pop them in the description box below if you want them, but let's take those all off and move these out. So if you want directional paper, then just be, when you are cutting it, just be careful that you cut the 8 inch so that your direction is this way. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to pop it in your scoreboard. Now it's 8 inches, so I know the middle is 4. What I want to do is to do a spine that's about 1/4 inch right in the middle. Rather than faffing about with measurements and all sorts, all I'm going to do is, I know that 1, 2, 3 notches, and that's 1/4 inch in there. So I'm going to go to my 4. I'm going to go 1 notch to one side. So if anyone wants to know what that is, it is 3 4 5 6 7/8, but it's 1 notch to the left of 4, and I'm going to score that all the way down like that. Then I'm going to come back to my 4, and I'm going to go 1 notch to the right of it, which is 4 1/8 if you prefer to have the measurements. And I'm going to score all the way down with that as well, backwards and forwards like that. Okay, and then when I've taken it out, I'm going to give that a quick fold on both of them. Not going to use my bone folder, I'm just going to finger fold it, because I'm going to use it for guide at the moment, and then when I do need it for a more sturdy fold, I'll be doing that later. So making sure that all my edges are all lined up, and I'm just going to run my finger down it. I can pop my scoreboard away now because I don't need it. Open that up, and I can just about see my scores in the middle there, which are around about 1/4 inch. No, not round about, they are 1/4 inch. I'm bringing my card back in, and all I need to do is glue them down and butt them up to that fold mark, that score mark, so that I get a nice little spine in the middle. So this is chipboard that used to be an envelope in a previous life, so we're recycling as well. That was an address, that's why it's all blacked out like that on there. So I'm just going to put lots of PVA glue, or your favourite glue, whatever that you've got to hand. Just going to pop that all the way around. Don't have to be too fussy at this stage, but I do like to get all the middle of it glued down just as much as the edges. Okay, move that one out the way. I'm going to take my left hand score, left to me, right to you, and I'm going to butt that up and try and keep it central there. What can help is if you want to just fold it over like that, and make sure that you're pushing that way while folding it that way, and that should give you a nice straight edge along there. Then bring in your bone folder and push that glue into your paper like that, and that gives you a nice border all the way around on your paper. And do exactly the same on this side like that. Now I do always put the scruffy side, as I call it, so it's the bits that I've torn off all the bits of envelope off. I do put that down first just because I think it makes it a little bit tidier for me. Whether it does or not is debatable, I suppose, but yeah, it's just the way I do it. So do whatever works for you. And this stage is skipped in that second one. You don't need this chipboard if you don't want to. These are a one and done album, not albums, notebooks. So there isn't the chipboard isn't essential if you really don't want to, or you haven't got any. Again, I'm going to fold that over while I'm pushing my grey chipboard against it, and just want to make sure now before I push it down too much that I've just is level. So it's level at the bottom, looks level at the top. I'm just going to fold that again while pushing it against, and that should hopefully have two very level pieces of chipboard glued down with a nice 1/4 inch border there. Now I'm just going to get my scissors and I'm going to chop off those corners. When I chop them off, I always make sure that I go at least 1/8 inch away from that corner. So let me just show you. Right, like that. So I've got a nice buffer so that when I do fold it over, that chipboard isn't going to show because it's all wrapped. So if you do go too close, one of the tips you can do is the corner you've just chopped off, glue it down there, and then when you wrap your paper around, you won't see the grey of the chipboard. Okay, let's do this again. 1/8 inch away from that corner, another one, and this one. There we go, that's all 4 done. Oh, I hope I'm not coming down with a cold. Right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start wrapping it. So I'm going to bring my ruler, line it up with the edge of that chipboard, and then I can really bring in my paper. So there's my bone folder, just to give that a nice straight edge there. And then when you do that, I'm going to glue down my short edges first. So I'm going to make sure that those are tucked in really well using my bone folder to create a little crease there. I'm going to go the other side and do exactly the same. Pop my metal ruler there so I've got something to rub the paper against. The chipboard that I'm using is not very thick, which is why I've done this. If you've got really heavy duty chipboard that you're using, then you may find that the chipboard itself is sturdy enough to be able for you to do that step without having to use your metal ruler. Let's bring it in again and do this side. Oh, you know, suddenly from that sneeze, I suddenly feel like I'm going to start a cold. Oh dear. Well, let's hope it's only a cold and nothing any worse than that. Right, let's bring in that one as well and fold that over. Nice and sharp creases there all the way down, and again on this side, popping my ruler along there and do all four. And this is exactly the same as wrapping any other notebook or album or anything that you might be doing. So if you're familiar with it, you can just carry on, you know what you're doing. So there we go, last one done, and then all I've got to do now is get my glue and glue it all down. And as I say, I start with the short ends first. So I'm just going to go round, put plenty of glue on. Don't get too carried away though, you don't want your glue to be oozing out all over the place. Bring that in, use your bone folder to push it in. Grey board, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, is very thirsty. So it will soak up your glue really quickly. So just be aware of that if you are. And it doesn't always follow that the more glue you use, because it's thirsty, it doesn't always follow that the more glue you use, the better it is with the grey chipboard. I know I've been guilty a few times of thinking I'll put even more glue on, and it just goes everywhere. That's the problem. Okay, let's that down. I'm paying particular attention to getting it to go into the this bit here, because obviously I haven't got a piece of grey board in there, but I do want it to fold nicely when we get to it. So reinforce it along the edges of that chipboard like that. I like this bone folder because it's not a sharp edge, of course not, but it does come to a sharper point than these ones, for example. So you can really get into those corners like that. So again, like I said, make sure that those corners like that are pushed in, and then we can do the long sides as well. So all the way around like this. And again, plenty of glue, but don't go overboard with it. Because what we will be doing is we'll be covering it shortly anyway. Okay, so that's one more to do. And we've wrapped. And then all we need to do then is to train the paper a little bit where we've made those creases in the middle. And I'll show you what I mean by that. I like to do it at every stage, just so that paper is reminded of where it needs to go, but also it just reinforces everything and makes sure it's all stuck in the right way. I'm just going to flip it over. I think I'll use this one, and I can then get all those edges in one go like that. Flip it over, and that's all down like that. So like I said, I'm just going to remind the paper that, particularly the bits that I've just folded over, which way it needs to fold. So folding it over and in with the bone folder, and the same on the other side. There we go, and back in with that bone folder. Okay, so there's our cover, almost done. Now remember that piece of paper we did that was, let me just remind myself, 4 inches by 8.5 inches. So we'll bring that back in. Now I can put it that way, or I can flip it over and pop it on that way if I want. I'm just going to shave a little bit off that, I think. Just off the height of it, just a tiny bit like that. I may have cut it slightly over the 8.5. inches, so that it goes on there like that, and it will go over. So there's my spine. It will go over and reinforce that spine a little bit as well. So I'm going to start by putting glue in my spine. There we go, just down there, because what I want to do is bend this into there so that it reinforces not just the fold but also that bit in the middle. So I'm using the thin, you don't end up with a huge well and a mess of card. Now I can put it that way, but I'm going to do it the red side, I think, and have something quite contrasting on the inside. Just put it all the way around the edges like that. And again, I'm putting plenty on, but I'm not going too mad. I'm not going to soak my card in the glue. Just helps that grey board to grab it without becoming too much of a gluey mess. So once you've done the back of your paper, or before, whichever works for you, what you want to do is to put a line of glue either side of the spine now, so that when you do lay it down, it really adheres well to both sides of the spine, because what you don't want is for it to bow into the notebook. So a line of glue down the spine like that. My glue's, I think it's getting a little bit clogged up now. That's the only problem with these very narrow exits, or whatever they're called. It gets clogged up. So once I've done that, I've got glue on the back here, I've got glue down either side of the spine and in the spine, and I'm just going to lay it down. So you can come as far across or as, you know, little across as you like. Entirely up to you. I'm going to bring that up ever so slightly, I think. There we go. And using your bone folder again, push that paper in. Stay on this side. I'm not going to put this side down just yet. I'm staying on this side of the book. So I'm pushing that down, and then I'm going to use my bone folder and push this into that spine. Remember I said I want to have as much contact in that bit of the spine as possible. So using my bone folder, I'm just gently feeling my way up one side of the spine and then back down the other, so that my paper, my top paper, comes in contact with the paper that's in the spine. Very carefully all the way up, and then once I've done that, I'm then going to rub that bit of card down so we've got an overlap there. I might just grab this one because it's a little bit chunkier, and I can really get into there with it on that edge and make sure I've got plenty of contact in that spine like that, and then go over the top again like that. That bit just needs a tiny little bit of glue. Just spotted it lifting like that. Doesn't matter that much, to be honest. I could just leave it because I'm going to put my notepad on the top in a moment, but there we go. So reinforce, bring that up so that my paper goes the right way. I want to make sure I've got a nice sharp spine there. Fold it over, and there we go, a nice sharp spine. Open it up and make sure that this is staying flat rather than bowing out like that, which it is. Fabulous. Right, now I'm going to bring in my notepad, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off. You don't have to, you can leave it on if you want, but I prefer it. So I'm just going to lift it up. I find laying it flat and just giving it a little tug helps it to come loose or free of the top edge of the paper. Now I know from doing the other ones that the back is not coming off cleanly. So some notebooks I've had and the back comes off really easy, nice and clean, but this one doesn't. So I am left with a little bit of a fray. Just make sure you grab your scissors, tidy up any loose bits on the back there. Let's take that away from the album. There's a bit that can come off as well, can't it? What we don't want to do is to disturb the glue on there, because if we disturb that edge too much, these papers start to become loose, but we haven't, so we're fine. So I'm just going to grab my glue again, and this time I'm going to put some glue on the chipboard that's on the back of the notepad. So all the way up and across. This is a one and done. So once the notepad's used, the whole thing can be thrown away. But if you want to have one that's refillable, then get yourself some sort of belly band on there, but you'll have to cover this over as well, just to keep that nice and tidy. So you'll have to get another piece of paper or card and go all the way across, in which case it will be 6 inches across by just short of 8.5 inches in length, and then you'll have to pop a little well, you can either put a band there that you slot it into, or you can cut the card and slot it into a pocket behind there. Right, so nearly done with my one and done. So I've popped it down, just going to bring that across to make sure. What I don't want is to put it too close to it that it won't close over. So there we go, that's closed over. I'm going to give that a minute to dry, so let's turn that over and push that glue into there again. And then what we need to do is bring over our piece that we had. So this was at the bottom. This is 1.5 inches. Yep, 1.5 inches by, let me have a look, I can't remember, it was 8 inches, wasn't it? Yes, 1.5 inches by 8 inches. And this is going to be our belly band. So all you need to do is pop it on there and wrap it round. Do make sure that you aren't doing too tight. So bring it over and reinforce those corners of the notebook. I keep saying album, don't I? It's not, it's a notebook. So reinforce those corners like that. Do the same on this side. Bring that over, line it up on the back and reinforce. Just pinch with your fingers those corners like that. Then open it out again. And what I like to do is put a line of glue on this edge here, like that. Go around a little bit, go a bit further, and then put a line of glue on this edge here. So I'm just running a bead of glue along there and going there. We have about 1.5 inches buffer, so we've got plenty of room, but I don't want to put tons down and get it all over everything. Bring that over like that, line up your edges nice and tight, but don't pull it too tight. So line that up. Hopefully your paper will grab. Just make sure it'll slide up. If not, you can come back and just pull it slightly apart. I don't want to put it any more than that because mine's a nice fit. And that's our belly band done. Now I'm going to decorate mine. I've got notes which I'm going to glue on there. And what I've done, let me just show you what I've used to make this. It is, it's a punch board. So nice and simple, treated myself to it. And it's just all the numbers and all the letters that you might need in your crafting. And I'm just going to glue that on there. And that is another, oh, it's not quite done, is it? I haven't done my pocket. Do that. And I can pop that on there. like that. Nearly forgot the pocket. So I'm going to slide that off. And then I've got my piece of card. So this was the 3.5 by 3 inches. And all I'm going to do, oh, I did have, where did I put that? There it is. All I'm going to do is slice the corner off. Now I want this side showing, so I'm just going to slice that corner off. Doesn't really matter how you manage it. Just slice the corner off like that. Get your glue and put it along the 2 long edges. So across there, down there. I do put a little bit there just to give it a bit more reinforcement. No need to. And then just pop it right in that corner. And oops, it's squidgy. And then pop that on. If you wanted to, you could use your triangle and pop that on as well, and that just gives you another little pocket, but I'm not going to bother with that. And that then is another of these notebooks done. So notepads, nice, easy, little useful stocking fillers if you want them, or you can use them for on the run up to Christmas, anything you like. Anyway, all the measurements in the description box below. If you want to have a go, do tag me in them. And if you've enjoyed the video, really appreciate it if you hit the subscription button and the bell. And I'll see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye for now.